That's funny.
He's the one who's
You do staff report and then Dave's talking? Or you go right to
I go first.
Yes, I'm sorry. He's the applicant. I can't speak English today.
City council hold these agendas when they approve it.
Carl, what is the current technical problem that we're having? The live streaming?
No,
I can move it here, but I'm not seeing any kind of, does not react to anything else.
So we're still having a problem communicating with the screen.
Yes.
Should we unplug it here? When we
I
reset?
think we could keep on going until
Oh, okay.
I experience a breakdown.
All right. Well, let's continue.
Okay. The Palos Verdes Golf Club requests consideration of a habitat restoration concept plan for a change to Parklands application pursuant to the Parklands use policy and the change to Parklands application guidelines. The City of Palos Verdes Estates, in coordination with the Palos Verdes Golf Club, received a grant from the West Basin Municipal Water District to implement the West Basin Recycle Water Pipeline Project. As part of the grant, habitat mitigation of 0.85 acres is required in order to offset impacts to the existing native habitat. This is the site, one of the sites, the 0.85. The goal of the change to Parklands application process is to create an orderly procedure by which residents or groups can request approval to modify, alter, or enhance natural habitat, pathways, public trees, and vegetation in the Parklands, as provided in the Parklands use policy adopted by Resolution R14-18. The city's goals are to maintain the Parklands for public use, manage Parklands in a manner to sustain the beauty created by the Parklands, respect the reasonable expectation of privacy of the adjacent residents, and provide limited active uses and open space for the community and users. Concept plans are conceptual descriptions of moderate to large projects involving volunteer or contract labor, significant alteration of existing conditions, and projects requesting funding for materials or use of staff to implement the project. The Palos Verdes Golf Club is submitting 2 concept plans for 2 sites in the Malaga Dunes, of which both are west of holes 15 and 16. The sites are next to each other. The scope of the work is to install a native plant restoration for both sites. This would be the 0.5 acre from the dunes, looking at Paseo del Campo. The circles around the signs that we posted, and the area extends further than we could see, but the trees would block the view. The Malaga Creek and the Olmsted Creek are to the south, and the Valmonte Trail is adjacent to the sites. Neither site will interfere with the walking trails. The Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy has provided and prepared a habitat restoration plan that specifies the plants, irrigation plans, and the schedule of activities. The Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy is Palos Verdes Golf Club's partner and will be responsible to implement the plantings and irrigation plan, as well as maintenance activities that include weed removal. The Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy has conducted meetings with the South Bay chapter of the California Native Plant Society and the Palos Verdes South Bay Audubon Society. And additionally, they have talked to with support of PVE residents that would like to help as volunteers. It's indicated that there's going to be no grading or tree removals in order to preserve the natural features of the Malaga Dunes. There are no homes closer than 300 feet, and the restoration projects are at the lower elevation, and so they will not be seen from the street. Screening vegetation also exists that will make the sites out of view for most. Trail users will be the only ones who will see the project, and all trails will remain open. So this is one of the trails that goes to one of the sites, so it's a rather difficult trail. The Malaga Dunes are frequently used by transients and homeless visitors, which will be minimized, and fire safety will be improved by the reduction of flashy fuels that ignite easily. The neighborhood character will only be improved, and no signage is proposed. Here's another example of some of the activities that go out there. You can see a skateboard and 2 dismantled bikes. The project has a 5-year term for installation and maintenance and monitoring with reports. Project cost will be approximately $40,000 per location. The Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy will be responsible for the .80 site, and the .85 will be maintained by the Palos Verdes Golf Club staff if the Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy is not contracted for this. No city funds are requested. The project is planned to start in the fall of 2024 and should be in a maintenance phase by 2025 with conclusion in 2028. The project will be monitored regularly by the Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy. So this is one of the notice signs, and this is another notice sign by the street. This is just indicating that we posted it heavily so that everybody was aware. You can see the 2 signs in this slide that were visible for the people on the trails and from the street. The Valmonte Trail is right below where the sign is. This is the .8 site from the Malaga Dunes. It looks smaller, but it's not much. It's just the perspective that we have here. The concept plan, if approved, is required to be returned to the Parklands Committee with a proposed plan that will be more detailed for Parklands Committee review. The proposed plan becomes the final plan with approval from the City Council, and then the project can move forward. The Parklands Committee will consider the Parklands use policy and the change to Parklands application guidelines in the review of a concept plan for change to Parklands. The recommendation is to approve the concept plan and direct the Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy and the Palos Verdes Golf Club to prepare a proposed plan that considers the comments of the Parklands Committee and directions provided by staff. And that would conclude the staff report.
All right, thank you, Carl. Do we have any questions of staff? Well, I'll start it off if no one wants to. Carl, so as my understanding, I know we'll hear from Stokey, but this is just a concept phase we're in now, and then we're going to have to get more detailed than this.
Yes.
Right, okay. So in concept, do you see any problem with the funding that method proposed? Is that likely to work?
Yes, it seems like it's a very good project. I'm not sure if the Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy is here, and they can speak to it, and we have a few more slides past this one that they can speak to some of the other more particulars.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of staff before we hear from the applicant?
Just 2. Just to be clear, though, you mentioned that the City of Palos Verdes Estates doesn't have to put any money into this. In perpetuity, there is no money that the city's going to have to budget to take care of this or to for any kind of maintenance or anything?
That's correct.
Nothing.
It's supposed to be able to take care of itself after 5 years.
Great.
And there are plans that maybe there's going to be more projects that would facilitate more restoration.
Good. Lastly, they do mention that the choice of the plants that work with an urban forester. Is that you, or is that another?
No, that's somebody that they will be hiring.
Okay. Will you have a voice in approving this selection?
I imagine I would have some input.
Okay. And I don't know if that's important to us, or if that's important to you, Ted?
I think they're very qualified.
Okay.
To do the project, and they've been doing this, and I would probably be listening to them.
Okay, great. Good. I just want to make sure. Okay.
All right, anything else for staff?
Questions?
I have one other thing. There has been other development in this area because, I don't know if it was 20, 25 years ago, those stairs were put in. It has a gate at the top. You know, it's right on the street. Who did that?
I think I was not here when that happened, but it was done through the city.
Was it like,
I think it's a storm drain type facility.
so when I remember when I was here, it was, you could easily open the gate, it was a locked gate, you easily open the gate, there was a gate on both ends, you walk down the stairs, and there was a nice trail that went out, it was very well maintained, and now, there's nothing, now it's totally overgrown, so that's getting to what Susie was asking. Someone approved it, and now it's just, you couldn't even tell it was there, right? It's all overgrown.
I believe it's somebody else's facility.
Oh, but we don't know who.
I think it,
And they won't touch it
I think it's
because,
like Public Works, sanitation department, not sanitation
okay, well,
department.
anyway, I would just,
It's a storm drain that goes down to the stream.
it's what I was
Water comes
thinking,
off the
yeah, well, okay. All I'm suggesting is it seems like there should be, maybe in terms of this concept, that there should be a follow-up in terms of if that's going to be impacted by their concept design. Because it's right on the edge, right?
It's in between the first site. It's in the middle.
Oh, it's in the middle, oh. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Oh, so it's not incorporated. I thought it was in the
From the
first-
picture,
I thought it was
I
in
can
the
see-
.85.
Let's see if I go back.
I thought it was in the .85.
You see where that cedar tree is, right
Yeah.
next to the circle? Well, that's where
Yeah.
the stairs are, and it goes further to the east.
I thought it was,
Oh, we have another slide.
okay, anyway, it's just that, it looked like it was incorporated, from where the signage is, so it just seems that maybe they should look at it.
Those are the two sites.
Yeah, but,
And the staircase, you can see, is right where their .085. That's where the staircase is.
yeah, so it's in it.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm just saying that they're going to have to talk to whoever did it, right?
I'm not sure if anybody wants to provide access to that other than the people that maintain the lower area of it.
Anyway, that was just a concern because it was really nice for a long time and now it's totally overgrown, like someone forgot about it. So that's-
All right. Thank you. Why don't we hear from the applicant? Mr. Stocky, good to see you.
Yeah, good evening, Parklands Committee and staff. Yeah, just wanted one quick clarification. So two things I want to point out. The first one is the restoration plan is not a concept, in our opinion. It's actually the details that you see beyond those pages have all of the varietals and the types of plants, shrubbery, everything that's going to be in there for the mitigation and going forward, which I'm sure Chris can speak to much better than I can. But we didn't think that this was just a concept, so I don't know if we got that wrong, Carl, but we felt that the information was more than adequate to be able to make a decision on this so we could get going on this project. And then to back it up, so we, PV recycled water project started maybe 10 plus years ago, and part of our contract and agreement, and we are supplying a $700,000 gift back to West Basin to do the PV recycled water project. This is part of the contractual agreement, the 0.85 acres, so we're required to do it, and that's why we partnered with the Land Conservancy, and member here, Tom Melberg, is really the one that was the catalyst with our golf course superintendent back 10 plus years ago to kind of put this all together. So Tom's here for us this evening, and just want to make sure we acknowledge him because he's done such a great job to bring that recycled water to the peninsula, and we're very excited to have that. So we're just trying to fulfill our contractual agreement, and we wanted to hire the experts and brought on the Land Conservancy. So hopefully you guys had a chance to review the plan rather than just the concept. So if I got that wrong, I don't want to step on any toes, but we're really looking for an approval or a recommendation from the Parklands Committee to City Council.
So the process, though, is a concept plan has to be submitted first to go to the next step. It may stay exactly the way it is unless the Parklands Committee has other needs or direction. Staff doesn't have any issue with the plan as it is.
Okay. All right, fair enough. And it's my first go at this, aside from some trees that we talked about a month ago. So if that's the process, we'll follow the process.
All right.
Chris, do you want to have a few words?
Yeah, thank you, David.
Yeah, Chris Sarabia, Conservation Director with the PALOS Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy. We're happy to partner with the golf course as well as with the city on this project. We prepared the plan. I prepared the plan. This is a great site to do a mitigation project. It fulfills all the grant requirements for the Purple Pipe project, the recycled water project, and so we're here to assist the golf course in kind of keeping this moving forward. Happy to answer any questions on the restoration. We've done a lot of these restoration projects all over the peninsula. I've worked with the Conservancy for 15 plus years, and we've just done a lot of work. So happy to adjust if you see any issues, but we think it's a sound plan, and it's ready to hit the ground running. We got a shovel-ready plan, basically ready to roll.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for the applicant?
I just have some comments.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say that I was so fortunate to have the opportunity to walk these sites with David and Chris and Adrian Mohan on Tuesday, and with Carl. And the knowledge, and I think that's why Carl's being humble here, because the knowledge that Chris has is like, awesome, So,
Thank you.
and he could tell every little native plant that was buried under some non-native. So it was very, very well done. So I agree. I think this is more, I thought when we were walking through it, it seemed much more than a concept versus a plan. So I had no problem with it, and think that we're very fortunate to have you partner up and also use the recycled water. I think that's, it's all great. The reason that I had this opportunity to do is because I was in touch with Adrian about doing grants. So they got this grant through the West Basin, and if this is successful, which I have no doubt it will be, have the opportunity, we can work with them to do other grants, not only here with Malaga Cove Dunes, but other places. So I think this is a great partnership with the golf course, with the Land Conservancy, and with the city.
All right. Ms. Rossick, do you have any comments?
No comments. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Oh, and I don't either. It looks like it's pretty detailed, and it looks like it's ready maybe to go to the city council and take it to the next step. So do we want to have, are there any other speakers about this in the public? I don't have any cards. Okay.
Well, I can make the motion.
Yeah, go ahead.
I make the motion that we proceed with this. It's called a concept plan, but PCCTP 1424, and approve it.
I second that. Shall we have a roll vote?
Committee Member Rossett,
Yes?
Committee Member Nye,
Yes.
Chair Cooper.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's move on to our next item, which is item number 3 on our agenda. And this is PC 581-24. It's an application to trim as low as possible 3 groupings of lemonade berry shrubs located on the bluff edge across from 1640 Paseo del Mar. And do we have a staff report? Oh,
I believe we're on number 3,
yes.
and I believe that's the,
Stephen Prado.
That's what I just read was number 3.
He's not on number 3.
Oh, you're not? Oh, okay.
number four.
That's number 4 that seems
That's
to be
number
on
four
the
to us.
screen.
this is number 3.
No, number 3 to us is the lemon berry shrubs.
Not on the agenda, but
Maybe they switched it. Yeah, it's the lemonade berry shrubs.
We'll have to get to a different screen here. So the request tonight is
Here we
to trim
go.
as low as possible 4 groupings of lemonade berry located on the bluff edge across from 1640 Paseo del Mar. The reason for the application is an ocean view enhancement. The main view area is from the front of the house. In considering view applications, when views are or are becoming significantly obstructed, the Parklands Committee shall respect the tree management policy. To the greatest extent practical, strive to preserve or enhance scenic views from the main view area of a residential structure. The main view area is from the rooms at the front of the house. Part of the view is being reduced, but not significantly, by the 4 groupings of lemonade berry. This would be the lemonade berry that's directly in front, and you can see the 2 groupings on the left and the small grouping on the right. This is a close-up of the small grouping that's to the south as much as possible, the one that's directly outside of the house, and the grouping that's going towards the Queen's Necklace and the coastline. Lemonade berry can be trimmed and maintained at a lower height without harm to the shrub, but the lower the cut, the more rapid sucker growth will grow. Cutting into large diameter wood to trim as low as possible is not recommended. Cutting the shrubs to 36 inches in height is as low as staff would recommend. The Parklands Committee is to respect the existing neighborhood and not significantly alter the unique feeling of a particular neighborhood. The character of the bluffs is the lemonade berry shrubs. The shrubs extend down the cliffs and reduced most of the erosion where they are established. The privacy is to be respected, but the privacy will not be affected by trimming the shrubs. Public safety. The shrubs provide erosion protection and a safety barrier for the pedestrians and bicycle riders using the bluff top trails, but trimming them lower will not change that. The options available to the committee tonight is to approve the request to trim the 4 groupings of lemonade berry to 36 inches in height and approve the conditions of approval included below. And you'll notice in the conditions of approval, we have some highlighted bullets that would restrict vehicles on the bluffs, and the trails need to be open while the work is happening, and the trimmings would be removed from the site or spread and chipped to not exceed 2 inches. You could deny the request to trim the 4 groupings of lemonade berry shrubs as low as possible or provide alternative direction, and that would complete the staff report.
Thank you, Carl. Do we have any questions of staff?
I have just a couple. On the conditions, I noticed the general conditions, number 9 says $500 goes into the tree bank, and then number 10 says stump removal required, so that would come off?
Yes, there would be no removal.
We wouldn't require that, okay, of the, someone in a letter had mentioned that taking this down to this level would, I guess, endanger some of the animals in that living in that vegetation. Do you experience, or do you feel that that's a possibility? Or?
You know, I think that the lemonade berries extend all the way down to the ocean or close to the shore,
Mm-hmm.
and that there's plenty of habitat left, and it would be a small amount of trimming or habitat that they would be removing, and they would grow back rapidly. When I was out there, I did not notice any creatures, moving around, but I'm sure they're there.
Yeah. Okay, those are my questions.
I have, so along the coast there, where there's no houses, where it's just the bluff, there's many more groupings of lemonade berry shrubs and of various heights. And I'm just curious, has the city ever trimmed these?
Not to my knowledge. At one point in time, when people would ask, it could be approved, but things have changed dramatically in the city as far as accountability, and when staff can say yes to something, and it became an issue that had to be approved by the Parklands Committee. But the city would not have funds to be able to be trimming the bluffs.
But I also noticed when we were walking through that there was someone had cut down all the mustard greens or whatever other shrubs, not shrubs, but weeds that were growing. Was that the city that does it?
Yes, that's the city.
Okay, so the city does go through in terms of a maintenance of the weeds and stuff, but it doesn't touch this shrub.
Right, all it does is take the weeds down up to the bluff edge.
Right.
And it's not, we did not write in the contract that they were to trim the shrubs. Obviously, that would have increased the cost of
Sure.
maintenance. And that was not the purpose of the landscape maintenance contract.
Right. And so where I do see the shrubs, I mean, it is beautiful when you look over the cliff. And I mean, if it wasn't for them, that cliff could erode so much more, right? So it's definitely helping the erosion. But do you think it also helps the stability of that cliff, of the cliffs, to have it on the top of the cliff?
Yes, but the height of the bush is not going to affect.
It's more the roots.
It's the roots.
Right. But
There's
it's
some
like getting
watershed.
yeah.
The more foliage on top, the more watershed, but by the time the rains come back, they'll probably have grown back.
That's right. Yeah.
So this is a very-
This applicant said that he's trimmed them before. He thought he had done it with a permit, but you didn't have evidence of that. But do you see evidence that they've been trimmed before, or any of the other shrubs have been trimmed before? I mean, in the last,
There are
say,
some
5 years?
berries on the bluffs that are taller.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to take his word for it that he's trimmed them before. It doesn't look like that, but we don't have any records of any permits that were issued for that.
All right, so 36 inches, are you done, Ann?
Yeah.
Okay, 36 inches is the lowest you would recommend.
Yes.
All right, and how quickly are they going to grow back to their current height if we do that?
Maybe 6 months?
Okay.
Oh, no, not to their current height. They'll grow maybe a foot or two, but they're going to grow slowly.
And what happens if you cut them below 36 inches?
Then they send up more suckers. They're going to try to recover. It's like a tree. The lower you cut it, the more it's going to sucker. And the suckers are going to try to grow as quickly as possible to capture the sun, to photosynthesize.
So that means the more you chop it, the quicker it grows.
Right, it's like your hair.
Yeah, not my hair. Let's be clear about that. Any other questions of staff? All right, let's hear from the applicant, if they're here. Mr. Prado?
Hi. Thank you, Parkland Committee. I'm Steve Prado. I own 1640 Paseo and had submitted the application to have the lemonberry bush trimmed. The last question here was kind of like, has it been trimmed before? Yes, it has been trimmed before, twice. I purchased the house in 2011, and I used one of the, I believe there's 3 approved people for Palos Verdes Estates that do trimming. I, came home from work, said, hey, I'd like you to, lower this. They said, we need to go to the city, we need to get a permit, and, then we can do it. I said, okay, and came home from work, and it was done, type of thing. I was told the big issue was not putting brush down the cliff, and so they used a bucket truck, they said, and had one person trim, and then they would throw the brush back onto the bluff, and then there'd be another person that would put that in a shredder or a truck and or a mulcher or a truck, and then haul it off. So I think it was probably done, we finished remodel in 2013, so it was probably done 13, 14, probably again, thinking just around COVID time, so before COVID, like a 2018, just for fair disclosure. I checked my receipts, I don't have anything. At that time, the applicant wasn't, or the homeowner wasn't required to submit the application, so the trimming service did that on my behalf. And so I came down to get it done again. It's, like I said, it was probably around 2018, and we hadn't trimmed because before, when we were in La Nina and we were in the drought condition, the lemonberry bush didn't grow very much. And then when it switched back to El Nino and we got the rains, then the bush really took off. And it doesn't look, that's the smallest of the 4 croppings, but the largest one there, that's actually close to 10 feet tall. So that would be, the ceiling height. And so I had requested to, well, the company that I had asked to do it had just said trim it as low as possible. I had sent Carl, Mr. Moritz, an email and asked if we could trim it into a hedge, something around 2 to 3 feet tall. So that was my request. And I'm just looking to trim the bush, not to affect the root structure in any way, so it wouldn't be like removing a tree or removing any part of the bush. The root structure would be 100% intact, and has noted the roots or the bush goes all the way to the shoreline, to the coastline, which is 150 feet down the bluff. So there's significant root structure there, and I agree I wouldn't want to remove it only because it does stabilize the bluff. I'm not familiar with the budding, or if we trim it to 2 feet, then it's going to make more roots, or make more buds and get bigger. I'm not urban forester, so I don't know about that. Mine was more of just an aesthetics. I don't see any animals being harmed or anything. If there are, most of the animals that are there used to be a fox, but the fox passed away, I believe, a year or 2 ago. Most of them are cottontail rabbits, which are 6-8 inches tall. Not 2 feet would be 24 inches, 3 feet 36 inches. So just looking for something in that height. So any of the animals that live in there would not be affected by basically a haircut of the tree. I'm just looking to take down the top of it, not, like I said, not touch the root structure. I am offering to obviously pay. I'm not asking for the city to expend funds to do it. And if approved, I request that maybe there could be an amendment or something that the trimming could be authorized on a subsequent basis versus going through the application process and the expense and the time and the public hearing part of it as well. So with that, thank you very much, Parkland Committee and staff.
All right,
and
thank
I'm
you
happy
very
to
much.
answer any questions.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? No. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pryor. Do we have some more speakers on this application? Okay. I have 2 cards, and we've got Tracy Windass and Jane Ma.
Tracy Lawrence.
Wines, pardon me.
That's okay.
And you should have 3 minutes. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, take it away.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Wines, and I grew up in PV. I'm here tonight to represent my mother, Myrna Fletcher. She is 88 years old and unable to attend the meeting. I called ahead to make sure I could speak on her behalf. These are her comments. We built our home at 1648 Paseo del Mar 55 years ago and have raised our family here. It has been a blessing to see the ocean and cliffs every day of my life. I'm very concerned about the proposed removal or extreme trimming of the shrubs for many reasons, and here they are. 1, the shrubs are beautiful to look at from my porch, and visitors even take photos next to them. 2, cottontail bunnies live in the shrubs, and also the wrens that I feed in my backyard. 3, the shrubs are a buffer to keep people from falling off the cliff. 4, over the years, parts of the cliff have slid down to the ocean, but the shrubs help prevent soil erosion. 5, they require no maintenance or water. Thank you for letting me share my comments with you tonight, Myrna Fletcher and Tracy Wines. Jane?
Okay, thank you.
My name is Jane Ma. I'm living 1632. The brushes, I think,
I'm sorry, you're going to have to speak
they
up.
are very beautiful. I don't want to cut them. It's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want me to explain what she said?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jane Ma lives at 1632 Paseo del Mar, and she thinks the shrubs are very beautiful and likes to look at them every day, and she hopes that you maintain them as they are.
All righty, great, thank you. Okay. All right. Anybody want to start it off at your thoughts about this petition?
I'll start.
Susie?
I support trimming them. I think I walk that trail a lot, and one of the nice things is being able to see down to the ocean. I think that's wonderful, and we're not removing the shrubs, and they're going to grow back. But I think bringing them down to enhance the view is a request I would support.
Okay. And Ann, do you have some thoughts on this?
You know,
And you don't have to.
I do. No, I do.
You don't have to.
No,
It's
I
up to
do.
you.
I have some thoughts.
Okay.
No, you don't.
So the issue here is Mr. Prado is selling the house. So he's not like he's going to continue to live there. And so the only issue that I have is, and I did bring it up with him when I visited, is if we were to agree to trim, and in order to keep whatever height we trim it to, you would have to, at least according to what Carl is saying, you'd have to do it at least annually, if not even more. So if he was still living there, then we could say, oh yeah, we approve it, and you'll do the due diligence to make sure that it's permitted, and you don't have to pay a fee, and you just do it annually. But he's selling the house, so you can't say to the seller or to whoever buys the house, oh, you can do it. So I don't think we have that ability to do that. I think if that person wanted to have them trimmed, they'll have to come before us again, right? I mean,
Why?
I think it's it's not Mr. Prado. He's selling the house.
Right, but we don't know. He might not sell the house for 5 years. I mean,
Oh, I think he's selling the house.
well, maybe, but I still don't understand. I mean,
I'm just saying, if he's not at the house.
right, but the new resident doesn't have to trim the bushes.
That's
if they
right,
don't want
that's
to.
right. So I'm just saying for us to, yeah, we can just make the caveat, if he's still at the house, that he doesn't have to come. So I have no problem with that, but I don't think you can make the caveat that the next owner who is new to the, I don't know, I just don't think you can do that to a new owner. I've never seen us do that before, but that's just, I'm just responding to what he said. I mean, if it, I do want to say that if, and we have done this before, if we approve a trimming and that and we have said, once we approve it, that person does not have to come before the Parklands every time to get an approval, that they just have to go through Carl, and it's a free permit, and they just trim, right? But I'm just saying this is a little different. That's all I think. That said, I know Mr. Prado wants to trim below the 36, but I would not want to go below the 36. And I know your recommendation is the 36. So, I mean, he has a fabulous view already. And when I look at the other shrubs along, they are a little taller than his, but they're not much taller. I mean, I just think with the dry summers that we have, even if you have a good rain during the winter, they're not gonna grow really tall. So, but that said, you know, he is selling the house. He wants it to look good, and I have no problem if he wants to trim them, but that it can't be below 36.
Well, I think that's what is recommended by Carl.
That's what Carl recommends, but that's not what he would desire. That's all.
All right, does anyone want to make a motion?
Yes, I'll move that we approve PC 581-24, the application to trim 4 groupings of lemonade berry shrubs located on the bluff edge across from 1640 Paseo Del Mar at the recommended 36 inches as recommended in the staff report.
I second that. Shall we have a roll call vote?
Committee Member Rossett,
Yes.
Committee Member Nye,
Yes.
Chair Cooper.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. So we're approving it as to 36 inches. I think that's clear, hopefully, in our motion.
Were you intending including the conditions of approval?
I didn't see them.
You had listed, that's something you want to change?
Forgot to address them.
I don't think I heard that.
Well, do you mean removing the $500 per tree and the stump removal? That shouldn't have been.
Well, the general conditions, and one of the general conditions was that no vehicles were allowed to drive on the bluffs, and the trail must be remain open during the work.
Oh.
The trimming shall be removed from the site, or it can be shipped to not exceed 2 inches.
I see. Okay. I'll amend my my motion to include item 11, 12, and 13 on general conditions in the motion. Does that suffice?
I think that all the general,
Well, except for you have to remove 9 and 10.
and the way the general conditions work is that whatever applies.
Okay.
So there's many times the general conditions, there's things in there that don't apply, but there's many things that still do apply.
Yeah, I just wouldn't want him to be stuck with $500 for that, or to have to go in and remove stumps and things. Okay.
Absolutely.
But anyway, all of the general conditions.
The general conditions that apply
Yes.
are added to the motion. And with that, I second the motion. And let's have a vote.
Committee Member Rossett,
Yes.
Committee Member Nye,
Yes.
Chair Cooper.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you.
As a point of clarification, for trimming in the future, for subsequent trimming, how is that to be handled?
We're not ruling on that as part of this motion, as I understand it. I think this is sufficient for today in terms of what was on the request, and I think that's all we're ruling on today.
Okay. So,
But I do think, and Carl, you should speak to it, that in that we ruled on this one, if the new owner comes to you and you see that this one has been approved, you could you could approve it without it coming to the parkland, right?
No,
You don't think so?
I wouldn't assume that. I would assume that it'd be a new resident, that they would come before you, and they would ask for the permission, and then they would be given the permission, possibly, the same way Mr. Prado did. But it wouldn't be something that was attached to the ownership of the house.
Right.
Or in someone's different name than his name, which he was the applicant.
And I think your concern is that if you still own the house in a year, do you have to come back and
say I
do
take
that?
take the house off the market, and yeah, a year from now, they've grown a foot, or 2 years from now.
He has to
they've
go
grown-
through this process again.
Do I have to go through the whole application?
He wouldn't have to go through
As
the,
long
Well,
as
if he
it's
still owns
Mr. Prado, we could approve it.
yes, as
Right,
long as
right.
you.
Okay,
Right, and that's why
That
I...
was what I was saying.
That's why I
As long as you.
wanted, yeah.
okay, that was the part I was confused on. I just wanted clarification there on.
So maybe you should amend the...
Okay, we're going to,
Let's
let's,
amend
maybe
them.
the third time's the charm.
So if I amend the motion to the current resident, let me just make sure they're listening.
Why don't you add an addendum to the, well, why don't we do it?
Let me
Let's
wait.
take it from the top.
I can always do that.
Yeah, well, we could talk about that. I think. I can't hear. You know,
Good idea.
So-
All right, so what?
Okay, I have to do
so-
it because I made it, so.
Okay,
I'm
go
going to
ahead.
withdraw the motion that I made. I'd like to move that we approve PC 581-24, the application to trim to 36 inches the three groupings of lemonade berry shrubs located on the bluff edge across from 1640 Paseo Del Mar, to include the general conditions as outlined in the staff report. And this motion is, I guess, how would I word that? The applicant can annually trim the shrubs without coming back to the Parklands Commission for approval, as long as he is the owner of the property.
That works.
I second the motion.
Yay.
And, Mr. Chair, if I may, just as a reminder to the applicant, two things, this, as similar to the other items on the agenda, this has to go to City Council for final approval, this recommendation, and you may need an encroachment permit to actually perform the work. That's something you can call Carl after it goes to City Council. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
She's got to do roll call.
Go ahead. Please, thank you.
Committee Member Rossick.
Yes.
Committee Member Nye.
Yes.
Chair Cooper.
Yes,
Motion passes.
all right.
We're rolling.
Let's move to our final item on the agenda, which is item number 4, PC 580-24. This is an application to remove 4 trees and 1 shrub located in the public right-of-way and parklands adjacent to 841 Tyburn Road and plant 5 replacement trees. And is there a staff report?
Yes.
Please proceed.
And just as a note, the presentation has been a little weird,
Okay.
so bear with me.
I think all of us went out there and spent a lot of time, so that, we
This
still
is an
need it.
application to remove 4 trees and 1 shrub located in the parklands and right-of-way adjacent and behind 841 Tyburn Road and plant 5 trees. This is number 1 tree, it's a carob tree. This is 2 and 3, a carrot wood and a pomegranate. And then there's a little loquat tree. And this is a lavender starflower that's in the parklands. Once we defined the lines, it was in the parklands. The trees requested for removal are located at the rear of 841 Tyburn Road. Locations for the planting of the 5 trees are 2 in the parkway in front of 2709 Via Romera, and this is the second location, and 3 in the alley behind 2709 Via Rivera or directly behind 841 Tyburn Road. The applicant's location is 2709 Via Rivera. And this is another location for the trees, I'm sorry. The reason for the application is the Ocean View Corridor and Sunset View Enhancement. Let's see. So this is the applicant's location at 2709 Via Rivera. In considering view-related applications, the Parklands Committee shall respect the tree management policy and to the greatest extent practical, preserve or enhance scenic views from the main viewing area of a residential structure. The trees in the application are all healthy and structurally safe. The main view area of the structure at 2709 Via Rivera will be from the new dining room at the rear of the home. This is basically the same area that you saw the view, other than it's going to be closer to the property line and in line with the existing building. The view corridor is partially obstructed now by the 4 trees and 1 shrub, and will be more obstructed after the new addition is built. We do have some pictures of the ocean that you can see if you are looking from the house, but this tree is right now obstructing it, so you can't see this. So this would be furthest south, and this would be the furthest north. There's a little corridor over there, and this is directly over the backyard of of Tyburn Road. Just to explain, this is the house plan for 841 Tyburn Road when it was built. And it's probably hard to see, but there it says Lot D, and the circle down below says alley. And where the alley is right away, and where the Lot D is considered Parklands, and there's a Parklands area directly behind the house. Planting the 2 new trees in the parkland Via Rivera will not have any view impacts, so they're fine. The applicant is asking to plant Magnolia Little Gem, which is not the designated street tree. It's a St. Mary. It's a little bit different, but either tree is a fine tree. The character of the, so to further that, so you understand the location, the areas that are Lot D and Lot C are Parklands, and the alley is right away. And you can see where the trees are there. And this would be the view, but this would be how that all works out with property lines. The character of the area is filled with trees. Trees in the alleys and parklands were never approved to plant, but appeared after yards were extended into the public land. Planting trees in the alley and path is not an action that was planned or approved by the city, as the pathways and alleys are access for utilities and residents. Maintenance of trees off the main paved streets become blocked by tree trunks and equipment can't access. Unpermitted planting of trees is a problem that sometimes interferes with utility wires, utility boxes, utility structures, and other residents' views. Planting new street trees, either of the magnolias, will add to the neighborhood character. Respect to privacy is another criteria for the Parklands Committee, and privacy and screening will be reduced for 841 Tyburn Road with the removal of the trees. Privacy and screening for 841 Tyburn Road will be improved, but new redbud trees should not be planted in the alley, only the Parklands. Removal of the trees, with the exception of the carob, will not have any safety impacts, either negative or positive, to their location. The carob tree is very close to the house and would be considered an issue for the fire department, and removal of the carob tree would improve that fire safety for that home. The trees requested for the removal are not the designated street tree, but they're close. I'm not too sure if they would really care if they were Little Gems or if they were St. Mary's, but the designated street tree is a St. Mary, not a Little Gem. Let's see. So here's another understanding of the alley. This is all right-of-way. We're on the right-hand side of that red line, and in the rear where that cement is Parklands. This is the location of the little gem that's proposed to be planted, and this is another location where it's proposed to be planted. This is where they were asking to plant the redbud tree, which is in the alley. And this is another location for the redbuds, which are natives in the alley. This is the view from the house. They would get more of a sunset view, but if that was gone, you saw the little blue behind it. This is the blue that's behind that carob tree. This is the lavender starflower, and this would be the view that's behind that. And this is the view to the right. The options available to the committee tonight is to approve the request to remove the 4 trees and 1 shrub, approve the planting of the 5 new street trees, and approve the conditions of approval listed below. Deny the request to remove the 4 trees and 1 shrub and plant 5 new trees, or provide alternative direction. And I would mention that there was a letter, a late correspondence that came to you from the residents at Tyburn Road, and that was asking for some consideration, and that would complete the staff report.
All right, do we have any questions of staff? Why don't I start off with this one? So, first of all, I want to make sure I am understanding everything. These trees, all of them that are requested to be cut, are unpermitted or planted in an alley of parkland or right-of-way combined that was meant to provide access, and is not a place where anyone's going to be approved to plant trees, assuming we didn't have the apparent encroachment that occurred.
That's correct.
All right. And you mentioned a safety issue. Is that the carob tree?
The proximity to the building.
Okay. All right. And clearly it will enhance their view to some extent. We saw that when we were there. And I guess another question is, they want to replant some trees also in the alley. Isn't that something we just want to avoid?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay. That's
The
all the
alley
questions.
should be clear.
Yeah, that's the only questions I have. Go ahead.
Okay, I mean, just to reiterate what Chairman Cooper said, this is clearly what is going on right now is a vegetative encroachment as defined by the Parklands encroachment management policy, correct?
Yes, and it's a little bit beyond because of the cement and the fence and the
structural
other
too.
structures that are there, but
Okay.
yes, it's all an encroachment into the right-of-way and the parklands.
Okay. When did the property owner, receive a notice of violation for this encroachment?
Recently,
Recently.
the whole neighborhood received notification.
Okay.
The houses.
Are they incurring fines daily for not
No,
taking care of this?
that hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
There's a number of the residents that have complied and moved their fence and taken out the walls and fences that were there.
Okay. I mean, because I think we can't dispute, this is clearly illegal, what's going on there in the parklands. They don't control any of the resident doesn't control any of the park.